You guys
That's all
can
right.
imagine how sexy I am.
Oh yeah, obviously.
I'm sure you look terrible, Graz.
Retweet, firm retweet.
You're good to go.
Welcome to Tater Talk. I am your host, Justin Ledger. Today, we got the whole crew. It's me, it's Zach Hummel, and it's my good friend, Michael Graziano, a.k.a. Graz. Did I say, is it Graziano? Graziano?
It's either way, actually. It's both.
Oh, interesting.
Tomato,
Wow.
tomato.
Exactly.
Tomato little situation there. Nice. All right. Well, we got the whole crew today. Pretty psyched about that. We got a pretty good list of topics here. We got a little bit of should we already get into the whole, panic meter situation? We got a little panic meter later on. What teams we should be panicking about, what teams are going to be okay in the long run. But before we get to all of that good stuff, we got a little bit of web gems. So this segment, web gems, pretty much how we're going to start off some episodes is we just pick a random story, something that resonated with us over the last week, and we just talk a little bit about it. So I'll start here, and my story is Buck Showalter calling Mookie Betts the best right fielder he has ever seen in person. Now, Buck Showalter, pretty good judge of that. I mean, the guy's 61 years old. He's seen some right fielders in his day. He's seen Reggie Jackson. He's seen Andre Dawson. He's seen Tony Gwynn. He's seen Vladimir Guerrero, Larry Walker, Ichiro. Those are some names, but he's calling Mookie Betts the best he's ever seen. Zach, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's pretty high praise coming from Buck Showalter, who's one of the most experienced managers in the MLB. What specifically did he call out? He just said he's the best right fielder he's ever seen.
He said he's the best. Well, he was in a conversation, I think, with Mike Lupica, who that guy sucks. But anyways, he was in a conversation with him, sort of just raving about Mookie Betts, how he plays defense at Fenway Park and how he adds a whole dynamic to the Red Sox in that aspect. And he just talked about how he's a 5-tool player, all of that good stuff. And then apparently he dropped that fact that he is the best right fielder he has ever seen.
All right, I'll just throw in this hypothetical. So if Buck Showalter loves Mookie Betts so much, they offer Machado. Machado's guaranteed an extension with the Red Sox. Do you make that trade? Mookie Betts for Manny Machado, straight up?
No.
All right.
Absolutely not.
I don't think I do it either.
I mean, the main reason for that to me is where the Red Sox already have Xander Bogaerts at short. Manny Machado wants to be a shortstop. That's pretty clear. And Devers, I love Devers, and he's the third baseman, and he's a very valuable third. Like, there's nothing wrong with Devers. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then if you trade Mookie, that's a giant hole. Not only at the top of the order, but also, in the outfield as well. So no, absolutely not. I wouldn't do that. But I was just taken aback by this because, I mean, you know what it is? I think that Mookie Betts has just murdered the Orioles so much that Buck Showalter's like, I mean, what else can I say? Mookie Betts hits like 3 home runs per game against the Baltimore Orioles as long as I've been here. So obviously I'm going to call him the best I've ever seen in right field.
Yeah, I mean, Mookie Betts, especially the way he started off this season, obviously he struggled a little bit last season, but he's been, if not the best player in baseball, one of the top so far this season.
For sure. Graz, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but we're all prisoner to the moment. Like, right now, he's probably playing as one of, if not the best right fielders. I might have a little bias on that. But it's interesting how he says that, and you bring up how, like, against the Orioles, because Aaron Judge is absolutely annihilating the Orioles, and he hasn't said anything about that, like him either. So he must really think it, because he's not. We all know that Buck Showalter doesn't like feed around the bush at all. He just heads straight into things. He's been doing that for years. That's why you can't stop the buck.
Yeah,
so
and
you must see something there.
Going off what you said about Aaron Judge, again, a big part of this piece explaining how Showalter thinks he's the best right fielder he's ever seen is the whole 5-tool aspect. Aaron Judge obviously has the power advantage there, but I think if you look at every single other aspect of the game, Mookie Betts is far superior. And I think that's what Buck Showalter was getting at here, is that all-around 5-tool player, he's the best he's ever seen. And when you look at it, even against guys like, Andre Dawson, Reggie Jackson, Tony Gwynn, Vlad, those guys, I'm not saying they were one-dimensional by any means, because those guys could play. They had different parts of their game. But when you look at the whole package, I mean, you do have an argument there in favor of Betts. So I don't think what Showalter said is all that crazy, although some people might think it is.
See, my good comparison with it, and I don't know if you guys are going to stay with me here, is Mookie Betts is the Mario in Mario Baseball, where Aaron Judge is Donkey Kong. I like the power of Donkey Kong more, but I see how Mario is a better all-around player.
I like that. I like that comparison a lot.
Well, the crazy thing is, too, Mookie Betts came up as a second baseman, and he's gone to right field, which is a tough place to play at Fenway, and just kind of gone through and not made a ton of mistakes. Like, it's been crazy. He's definitely, the five-tool player that everyone talks about nowadays.
No doubt about it. Zach, what do you have for your web gem?
Yeah, so we obviously had the Joe Kelly, Tyler Austin rivalry renewed hashtag brawl that went down last week. So the Paw Sox, which is the Red Sox AAA affiliate, they're going to have an Evil Empire weekend, May 5th, May 6th. Mark it down in your calendars if you're in the area. And the interesting thing is any fan named Joe or Kelly will be admitted to those two games for free.
Love it.
And anyone named Tyler or Austin will be banned from the premises. I have a couple of thoughts here. Joe or Kelly. So if your name's Joe and your girlfriend's name's Kelly, I mean, that's a date weekend right there. Just taking some AAA baseball for free, which is huge. And then I've never met a Tyler or Austin where I've really liked them. So those are two kind of like frat D-bag names. So I think those names should always be banned from the ballpark. It's going to be interesting because they're going to be like checking IDs. I don't know how they're going to do this, but it's just further points to the point that the Red Sox and Yankees really want this rivalry to be back because it's good for both sides and it's good for baseball, even if it's at the AAA level. So interesting to see how this turns out for the Paw Sox.
Yeah, I like it. It's just a fun thing to do. I don't know. I like these kind of promotions. They always go viral. I think there was something similar to it last year or the year before, where they banned people with certain names and allowed certain names in for free. I forget the exact situations, but either way, it's hilarious. And I do think it brings something to the rivalry, like a little bit of that back. However, it's the part that is even funnier to me is that they're banning like Paw Sox fans. Like they're not banning fans of like the other team who are named Tyler or Austin. They're banning like fans of their team that are named that. So I mean, that just makes me laugh because I'm picturing just a big Red Sox fan or just someone who is like a season ticket holder for Paw Sox games trying to get in, but their name's Tyler, and then being like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so that weekend you're not allowed in. It's just 1 weekend away.
Yeah, you're just going to have to live with it.
Because Michael Kay in that Yes broadcast was talking about it last night during the game. So once it gets over to the Yankees, obviously they spin their propaganda on it. So
yeah. Speaking of early May, I think the Red Sox visit Yankee Stadium in May. What are your guys? I don't want to have a whole conversation about this, but it just popped in my mind. What do you guys think are the odds of another brawl breaking out once the Red Sox visit New York?
The crazy thing is, if you look back on it, a lot of the brawls happen at Fenway Park. I don't know if that's because the fans are more rabid. I cannot remember for the life of me a brawl that took place at Yankee Stadium between the Yankees and Red Sox. So I think, I think unless one of these guys, has another high slide or throws at it, because it's going to take one guy to start it, whoever's going to ignite it. I don't see it happening, but, I could be wrong. I don't know. It's one of those things that we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Roz, if any pitcher on the Yankees is going to bean any Red Sox hitter, what do you think that's going to be? Like, who do you think is going to be the person beaning, and who do you think they're going to hit?
Oh, if it's anyone, I'm going in a surprise pick. When Tommy Kahnle comes back, I'm going Tommy Kahnle. Because, okay, so I went through the bullpen, right? It's not going to be a starter. CC Sabathia is always interested in fighting, but won't ever start it because he's too smart. You know what I mean? And like, if someone's going to charge CC Sabathia, you're going to get your bell rung. Like, man, 6-6.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going through bullpen. Chad Green isn't going to do it. Chad Green absolutely just not going to do it.
Chapman would hit someone. That guy is a wild card.
And I would not fuck with Chapman either. I would not fuck with Chapman.
I said at the beginning of the season, if this rivalry really wants to get back into it, I need to see Chapman throw a 112-mile-an-hour fastball through Mookie Betts. Not at him, through Mookie Betts.
I would probably cry if that happened. I would actually tear up a little bit because I'd be so scared.
Oh, yeah, but you don't throw it at the head. You just throw, I honestly, I don't even want him to hit him. I just want to throw it behind him just to
Yeah.
alarm him and say, oh, this guy throws over 100 miles an hour.
You know what that reminds me of? When Pedro Martinez, when he was on the Expos, he hit that dude on the Phillies right in like the gut. I don't know if you guys remember that clip, but later in the game, Pedro Martinez charged the mound because he got hit in retaliation. But Pedro threw fucking heat right at this guy's ribs, and all you heard, like the mic was hot, so all you hear was "oh." It was like so loud. And if Chapman ever hit anybody, even with like half of his normal stuff, that's exactly what would happen.
Yeah,
that scares me. I don't want that happening to the Red Sox.
I don't even know if someone could charge after Chapman hit them. Like, they'd just be milking their injury, whatever it was. You know?
I think a great example of what would happen if Chapman wound up and actually threw a fastball would be the Randy Johnson Bird situation.
Yeah,
I think that's what would happen.
Jesus,
it's so true.
And
like if Chapman hit Brock Holt or something, I think Brock Holt would like go into a black hole. Like,
he
would just
disintegrate.
Exactly.
oh, to the shadow realm. Okay, I have a question for you guys then, because we're talking about this now again about maybe starting another fight. Do you think brawls are good for baseball?
Yes. Yeah, of course they are. Why wouldn't they be?
I think so too.
Yeah, they have. I mean, if there were no brawls ever in baseball, like no animosity, nothing, what's the fucking point? Like, that's what we all live for, is like the 162 game reality show, sort of. Like, we like the rivalries. That's what hooks us to these Red Sox Yankees games. So without that, I mean, it's really what's the draw? Yeah, there are two good teams going at it, but like, what's the real draw there? When I watch NBA games, like when they get in little tussles, I get out of my chair and I fucking like yell at the TV. That's awesome. That's fun. So of course it's good.
I think it's good, but I'd rather see the stars be involved in the brawl than like Joe Kelly and Todd Austin, because it's just two guys that are just AAA caliber players and they're just trying to make a name for themselves in the rivalry. So I liked it when Harper charged that guy from
Hunter Strickland,
Hunter Strickland, because at least the star, people are tuning into Bryce Harper at bat. So it'll have to be one of the big boys, but I don't think anyone's hitting Judge or Stanton on the Yankees.
No way. Yeah, that's why it was always good when guys like Robin Ventura charged the mound against Nolan Ryan. That's a showdown. You know what I mean? But Nolan Ryan like basically put that guy in a headlock, and Robin Ventura, I think he died that night. So. But like that's what makes it great. Like those types of brawls are just so memorable. Like they'll never be forgotten. So
the problem is with the Yankees and Red Sox is I don't think any of these big stars on the Yankees or the Red Sox would really charge the mound other than Stanton. Like if you hit Judge, he'd probably be like, "Cool, man, thanks."
Yeah.
And Mookie Betts, I don't see Mookie Betts going out there. He's too
right,
excitable. Yeah. Like, but if you hit Stanton's the only one that I could see like ripping off the weird duck helmet thing that he wears and going after you.
Yeah, and I'd like to see, like, I can't really picture Stanton doing it, but I don't want to rule it out either, because we've seen like Machado do it, albeit he is a hothead like even before he charged the mound. So I guess that one kind of makes sense. I'm trying to think of other stars who have done it. A-Rod, obviously.
But like Bryce and Nolan Arenado, when they did, I'm like, I can see that.
Yeah, they're all fiery guys. That's why.
Stanton's also struggling too, so it might even just add it. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. Like, I'm just going to charge them out.
You know who I could see doing it for the Yankees? Brett Gardner.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised he hasn't.
I can see Brett Gardner charging for sure.
It's funny because he's fiery, but not like at an intimidating at you way, more like in a team way. So I really don't see it.
I can't look at Gardner without thinking any moment he could pull out a badge and be like, "You're under arrest." That guy just looks like, I mean, I've said this on episodes before. He just looks like a shitty cop.
Yeah, he's a shitty cop that gets on base and causes havoc, and I love that, man.
Here go Graz protecting Brett Gardner like
he's Brett Gardner. He's a big part of my team. Big hit in the ALDS last year to get to the ALCS.
He's one of my least favorite players ever, and I don't even know if it's because he's a Yankee either. I don't know. If he played for the Marlins, I think I'd still hate him.
I don't think anyone could name a Marlin. Still. I'm convinced. We just played them, and I can't name one right now.
I think we can all agree, though, on brawls. Like, we want the pitcher and the hitter to both be game. Like, when one of them isn't game, it's never that good of a brawl.
Well, look at the Nolan Arenado brawl. The pitcher in that brawl, he threw his glove, and once the glove sailed by Nolan Arenado's head, he ran for the hills. So that wasn't really anything. I mean, it was great seeing Arenado charge the mound, but the brawl itself was not very eventful, other than Grado Parra having white hair and just throwing haymakers.
I have one more thing that I'm always impressed with in MLB Brawls is the fact that people are classy enough, the hitter is classy enough to put down the giant weapon that they're holding. Like, I'm going to beat you up my hand. Yo, if I got hit with 100 miles an hour, I would take the bat and be like, okay, you're going to do that? Now I have a bat. What are you going to do?
That's when it's acceptable for the pitcher to run the opposite direction, I think.
Yeah,
That's
but you don't see hockey players like taking their stick and just hitting guys in the face during a brawl. Like, they do it the manly way. They do it the formal way.
One of these days, I want the hitter to throw his helmet, and I want the pitcher to throw his glove at the same exact time, and have them just like hit each other, and have both the hitter and pitcher be like, "Oh fuck."
They just stop and admire it.
So we mentioned how we probably can't name many players on the Marlins. I probably couldn't name many players on the Reds either, if we're being completely honest with each other here. And that's because they fucking suck. And they're 3-16 right now. They fired Brian Price about time. Even I thought, I mean, I'm not big on the Reds ever. I know, Zach, you were at the beginning of last season. That didn't turn out the greatest, but I mean, there's always next year. But they fired Brian Price, and I actually expected the Reds to show improvement this season, and that just hasn't been the case. So I understand the move. That being the case, did they expect like just a new manager to come in here and be like, okay, now the Reds are competitive again? I don't really understand I don't know. What do they think is going to happen? I guess a culture change.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for the Reds is we'll know a lot about what the problems are with their organization from who they hire. Like, if they hire like a hard ass, we know the guys aren't like taking it seriously and stuff. If they hire like a players coach, like an Alex Cora type, we know like Brian Price was probably too hard on the players and they just all tuned him out. But they don't have, we talk about it in the NBA, like who are you building around? The Reds, I mean, Joey Votto, but other than that, they have like no one anyone would want.
Let me tell you something. If the Reds are still trying to build around Joey Votto, then they're going to be losing for some time. I love Joey Votto, but he's on the tail end of his career, and I feel like that guy, I think being on the Reds has taken years off of his lifespan, so that guy can be gone any moment. You can't build around Joey Votto. They do have some young talent there. They have that Luis Castillo is probably a future ace for them. Billy Hamilton, there's a lot of hype about that guy just because of his speed, but he blows. You can't steal first. Exactly. That's the story with Billy Hamilton since the moment he burst into the major league. So the Reds stink. They're 3-16, like I said, and there's no signs that they're really going to pick it up. The rumor as of right now is that the guy that they're eyeing for the managerial position is Barry Larkin. Which I think would be a very similar move to Alex Cora for the Red Sox. I don't know if Larkin is as into the statistics and all that stuff as Cora is. Cora is a big, advanced stats kind of guy. Larkin, though, I do have the feeling that he'd be sort of a player's manager. So I don't know. We'll have to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, has he been involved in baseball since he retired? Like, I know he did some commentating, but that smells like an Aaron Boone situation, and that's not going well.
It does kind of remind me of Aaron Boone a little bit, but Larkin, I don't know. He's a Hall of Famer, so you know what I mean. So he's a Reds Hall of Famer, and something about that makes me feel like it would go at least better than it did with Brian Price, who got ejected once before a game even fucking started.
Yeah. That guy was a nobody. Just didn't generate any reaction from the team.
He has been with the He was interviewed for the Tampa Bay Rays job, so he's been coaching. Okay. He was interviewed for the Detroit Tigers job before Brad Ausmus.
Yeah, I'd be wary of that because if you can't get hired over Kevin Cash, then I don't know.
Those are two terrible teams too.
Yeah, that's alarming for sure. And Brad Ausmus was not a good manager whatsoever. So I don't know.
He managed the Brazilian national team for the World Baseball Classic.
Huh. Okay, so he does have some sort of managerial experience.
Technically, yes.
All right.
It's like saying I coach like a rec team. And I have managerial experience.
Yeah.
I have an awesome ASO soccer team, and I think I could now coach the Red Bulls now. Yeah, that's what it's like.
MLS second from Graz there.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I'm disappointed because I'm a big Reds guy, so this is tough on me. Reds are my second favorite team.
I like getting – that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
I was going to say I respect the Reds because, I like teams that at least try when they suck. Second favorite team's not what I expected there.
It's okay. My uncle is a huge Reds fan, and he got me involved in baseball. And my dad was a Yankee fan, so that's why I like both of them. The only other players they have Scooter Gennett, who hit the 4 home runs. You remember?
That's the only thing that guy's known for, though.
He
didn't do that.
What has he done since then?
And then they actually have a talented player. Adam Duvall is actually a really above average left fielder, but that's it.
Question: when you hear the name Adam Duvall, does your mind immediately go to Adam Dunn? Because mine does.
Yes, but they play nothing alike.
Right? No, I know, but it's their names they start off so similar. Both have really good power, and I don't know. My brain goes there, so I don't know. Just fun fact.
Adam Dunn, maybe he should interview for the job. Former Reds great.
You know who I actually was thinking might be good? Sean Casey. He's always on MLB Network. He seems like he'd be like a player's manager. He seems like someone who would just be a naturally good manager. I don't really know how to explain why I feel that way, but Sean Casey's one of the most well-liked players ever. Like I've heard multiple players talk about being teammates with Sean Casey, calling him the best teammate they've ever had. So of course, I think if you're calling someone the best teammate you've ever had, I think that translates a little bit. He probably doesn't have any sort of managerial experience, but neither does Cora. So
the big thing is, like, does he want to do it? Because managing is such a grind people don't even think about too. Like, I don't know. He has a pretty good gig. It's like one of these things where, like, yeah, you want to be a manager, you're a former player, but you got to be in there. Your whole life is pretty much baseball from now on. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think it would just be an interesting move if they did that. But I mean, obviously I don't expect it. It's a name that popped in my mind, and he's a former Red. So I don't know. It just makes sense. You know who would never make a good manager ever is Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey would be the worst manager of all time.
Safe
but he's becoming a terrible pitcher as well. He might be out of the Mets rotation soon, and by might I mean most likely. Jason Vargas is set to return from injury soon for the Mets, and Matt Harvey has been absolutely garbage to start this season. He's 0-2 with a 6 ERA in 4 starts. That being said, he is set on being a starting pitcher, so there's going to be something's going to come to a head here between Harvey and the new Mets manager, Mickey Callaway, I think. So he used to be an excellent pitching coach for the Indians, so he knows how to handle a pitching staff. I trust Callaway here more than I trust Harvey. What do you guys think about it, starting with Zach?
Yeah, so I had Matt Harvey on my fantasy team. I stole him like one in the late rounds. I'm like, all right, let's see if he like bounces back and has a good year. It seems like he's been doing everything right in the offseason. Took like 4 or 5 starts and I dropped him. This guy it's one of those things where he almost looks like he's lost all of his muscle. He's gone on like a strict weight program and he's lost a lot of weight and his velocity has gone down a ton and his pitches aren't moving. Maybe he should have stayed like a little bit bloated, Matt Harvey, and gone out and partied because he pitched better when he was doing that. So
right,
he just has to figure it out. I think it's a lot of just pitch location. So, the Mets, the front of their rotation set, so they don't even need them to be good. They just need to give them a quality start every 4th or 5th day, and he can't even do that. So,
Kraz, what do you think?
I'm just disappointed because my Yankees take a flyer on Matt Harvey train is now quickly leaving the station as a terrible, terrible idea. No, it's definitely location. If you watched any of that Braves game that he just pitched and he gave up a bunch of runs in the 3rd or 4th inning? I was working, I can remember, but he just threw down the middle. Like he was just throwing pitches down the middle, like 93 down the middle. I'm like, dude, people are gonna hit that. You can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all know Zach's a huge Jason Vargas guy. So when Jason Vargas returns, I do expect improvement there because Vargas, he's just a solid pitcher. And Matt Harvey can't even be solid at this point. So that's an improvement. And I'm team Callaway for this. If Callaway's mindset is Harvey's either going to be a reliever or he's off, like he's out, because he's not going to be in the rotation. Let's just be real. He's out of this rotation sooner rather than later. Replacing him with Vargas just makes perfect sense because Vargas is scheduled to return soon. So
if you get Vargas in there as your 3, right? Because Syndergaard's fantastic and DeGrom is fantastic if they stay healthy. Then you have Vargas / Wheeler as your 3-4. You're set. You're set. Yeah. And then you throw in a 5th starter. Maybe you'll get a couple out of Gazelman. Maybe Matz is gonna, shape up.
Yep.
But Matt Harvey, all he needed to do was be that 5. He just needed to be the guy that's like 9-15 with like a 4 ERA and still like that's still okay. You know what I mean?
I could be that guy.
Harvey's like I don't know if this is a stretch or not, but he's reminding me of Clay Buchholz a little bit. Just he's got this little Clay Buchholz in him where he had this potential. He had 1 year where he was serious, like, I mean, he was a Cy Young front runner. I think Clay Buchholz, they both have injury history. Clay Buchholz in 2013, beginning of 2013, was like the best pitcher I've ever seen, and then he just all of a sudden experienced injuries and sucked big time. Matt Harvey kind of had that same road that he went on. Obviously, Matt Harvey's peak, his ceiling is higher than Clay Buchholz's ceiling, but that's the sort of parallel that I see there between those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, I just foresee this coming to he goes to another team and just becomes a closer at some point. I know he doesn't want to become a closer, but I just foresee it like coming out like that. I don't know why. We'll have to see.
Well, I hope not, because we know what happened when Harvey was at the end of the at the end of the game in the World Series. That didn't work out in his favor.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, so we're gonna get into Zach's futures bets. We still don't have a name for it. It's just Zach's gambling segment. So
I got to do my job. Give me a week.
Yeah, Graz, you need to get on that. Think of a name for the segment. But the segment is presented by MyBookie. If you think you know who's going to win any of the ball games tonight, lay down some money and get in on the action at the safest online sportsbook in the world. The whole world. That's a big place. And it's the only one that we recommend to our listeners. MyBookie offers all kinds of different wagers on Major League Baseball, as well as every other type of sport and league in the world. And when you win, you get lightning fast payouts. You can even create your own player prop wagers using their prop machine. You heard that right. You can create your own matchups and wagers between any ball players that are in action that day. So go check them out now. Use promo code Tater. That's promo code Tater for a 50% bonus when you deposit. Are you guys into blackjack, things like that, roulette, any of that type of stuff? You guys blackjack guys? Yeah. I'm a big blackjack guy too. And guess what? You can play blackjack on there. You can play roulette on there, crap slots. MyBookie has it all. So in conclusion, you play, you win, and you get paid. And the only way to do that is by going to MyBookie, using promo code Tater for all future promotions and bonuses. Use promo code Tater for a 50% bonus when you deposit. So Zach, take it away.
Yeah, so recapping on last week's bet. So if you bet Oakland and the White Sox over in each one of those games, you won. So I hope people took that and cashed, because that was a good play.
Did take it. I listened to the podcast again because I was looking for bets to make. I parlayed A's White Sox over with Red Sox money line, and I was golden. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, the A's are one of these teams where like everyone thinks they're the old A's with pitching and they scored 3 or 4 runs. No, they bash teams and their pitching sucks. So they're the new A's.
Yep,
Still terrible, but just 2 overarching things. All right, the Yankees are being like severely overvalued by Vegas right now. They are a dog shit team, and today is Saturday. Is being like the biggest picture of this is Stroman is facing Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery sucks like terribly. They're like minus 150, the Yankees. I don't get this. The Jays are playing well. They're being undervalued by Vegas. They're off to like a really good start, and no one's talking about the Jays. It's crazy.
It's a good point.
Yeah. And then one other thing, if the Royals are playing in a baseball game, bet the under. Their offense sucks, and their pitching's been pretty good. They play in the cold weather. I mean, it was snowing there last week, so no one wants to swing the bat. So bet the under when the Royals are playing. That's usually a good bet. Moving on to the future. So the NL Central, just pick or choose your team there other than the Cubs, and I think it's good value. Milwaukee's plus 400 to win the Central. Cardinals are plus 350. And the Pirates, who got off to a crazy start, is plus 900. That's all good value to me because I don't see the Cubs winning the division in my mind. I know everyone thought they would be the front runner at the beginning of the season, but they've struggled. I think their bullpen stinks. So any of those bets, pick your favorite team out of those, and I think it's good value there to win the NL Central because that's going to be a race going on for the whole season. Got to shout out the Rockies. So the Dodgers, I know we'll talk about them later in terms of panic meter. I think I'm out on the Dodgers. I think they're a pretty bad team.
You were out from the beginning, so I'll give you credit on that. I mean, you were out not just now. You were out before the season started.
Kershaw lost last night. I know he's going against Scherzer, but he's 1-3. I mean, that's just bad news. So I like Rockies plus 1,000 to win the NL West. I think that's pretty good value given that The Dodgers are struggling. The Giants look to be around a 500 team. And the D-backs, I see them falling back a little bit. They've had a hot start, but they're dealing with a lot of injuries right now. So Rockies plus 1,000. And then lastly, Astros plus 290 to win the AL. Right now, they're hot, but they're going under the radar because the Red Sox are on this ridiculous streak they're on.
Yeah.
The Indians are struggling a little bit, which many people thought would be their competition from the AL Central. So I like the Astros to come out of the AL. Until the Red Sox can prove in the playoffs, I like that bet on the Astros to make the World Series again. Those are the features.
So the Pirates, you said, are plus 900 to win the Central?
Yeah, which is crazy.
What were they before the season? Because I bet it was like you could have gotten them at probably like plus 2,000 or something.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. Plus 2,000. Yeah, maybe even more, really.
Yeah, that's insane. So you mentioned some teams in there that we're going to get to here with our panic meter segment. We did this last year. I think last year we did it in May, so we waited a little bit longer to panic, but we couldn't wait any longer. There's some good teams that are either mediocre or they're struggling. There's good players who are struggling. So we'll just get right into it with the panic meter. I'm going to ask you guys. So that's you, Zach, and Graz. I'm going to ask you guys some teams and a player. I only have one player on here, and it's sort of a troll job against Graz. So without further ado, I'll start with the Chicago Cubs on the panic meter. Where are they at for you? Starting with you, Zach.
10 being, panic,
like highest.
Packing up your car for a nuclear explosion.
Absolutely.
So I would put the Cubs at a 6 right now. It's past 500 in my mind. They're just not a consistent team. I'm not sold on their starting pitching being consistent throughout the whole year. Lester is on the back nine of his career. Hendricks, I've never been a big Hendricks fan. I know he's had a couple good seasons here. Their lineup is carrying them right now. So when they don't score runs, they lose. And that's a bad recipe. They can't win close, low-scoring games, which usually means you can't win in the playoffs. So I'm a 6 on the Cubs. It's steadily rising, though.
Graz, what about you?
Me, I'm going to give it a 4. I think the pitching will come around. I like when the transition from getting rid of Arrieta and bringing in Yu Darvish. I think that will eventually work out as the season progresses and he gets more comfortable. And I just trust their lineup to keep hitting throughout the summer. So I think they'll win a lot of games with 10 runs going forward. So I'm at a 4.
All right. And they're 9-8, just to give everybody context there. The Dodgers are 8-10. What about them?
I'm a strong 8.5 on the Dodgers. I've been worried about them since the season started. I just don't think they're a consistent team. Their starting pitching outside of Kershaw is very subpar. And a lot of their players that were off the hot starts last year, let's say Bellinger, Corey Seager struggled to start the season. Jock Peterson looks like he can't hit anything. It's just been a terrible start for them, and I don't see it getting any better. It's interesting to see what happens with them at the deadline, whether they're buyer or seller if this continues. I'm going to 8.5 with them right now.
Did you see Scherzer just buckle Jock Peterson?
Yeah.
Buckled his knees. Like, he looked like he's never picked up a bat and stepped in the batter's box before facing Scherzer, which is how any of us would look. But Jock Peterson, he might, I don't know. He should never step up to the plate against Max Scherzer ever again.
It looked like, when you get the chills and your body shakes a little bit, that's what it looked like. It was scary.
Yeah. Graz, what do you think about the Dodgers?
I'm giving the Dodgers a 7 right now, but it's actually a very positive 7 for them. Because if the Dodgers panic enough with that 7 and they only get worse from here, then they're going to get Bryce Harper in the offseason. First hot take of the year for me. Yeah, you heard it here first. That's the rumor going around. That's the rumor going around. So their start is so bad right now. They're freaking out that they're like, we need to get Bryce Harper to add to this lineup. Ridiculous.
Not to, start a little conspiracy here. We had conspiracy watch last week, but I guess we'll do conspiracy watch again now. Harper and Bellinger are good buddies.
Yes.
So everyone wants to talk about how Harper and Chris Bryant are good friends and that he's going to end up on the Cubs. Harper and Bellinger are pretty good friends. They were chatting it up last night. So keep an eye on that little friendship there.
West Coast kid. So so it's 7 because their team right now is panicking and not playing well, and Kershaw has 3 losses. And oh no, Kershaw has 3 losses. Panic, the best pitcher of all time, has 3 losses. But they'll be happy next year, I promise.
Yeah, we'll see. Speaking of the Nationals, they're on this list. They're 10-10. Yeah, I won't even say anymore. Nationals, they're 10-10 right now.
Yeah, I'm going a 3 for the Nationals. I just think their pitching will follow through. I just think they're one of these teams where they had cold weather on the East Coast and they just got off to a slow start, but they're starting to heat up. I think they'll end up probably sweeping the Dodgers this weekend just because the Dodgers are playing so bad, and they have Scherzer, Strasburg going. So I'm a 3 on the Dodgers, 3 on the Nationals. I think they'll end up winning this division because I think the Mets will come back to the waterline.
Roz, what do you think?
I'm at a 1 for the Nationals. Not panicked at all. When you have Scherzer as your 2 and you have the workhorse Max Scherzer.
They have 2 Max Scherzers.
Holy.
That's tough. When you have Strasburg at your 2 and Scherzer at the 1, you're going to win a lot of games. So I'm not worried about them at all. There you go. It's tough. This is a morning.
No, I love it. No,
recording, so people forget.
They have Max Scherzer, then they got that workhorse Max Scherzer. Fucking, they're gonna go places. All right, Yankees. They're 9-9.
Graz, why don't you go first? I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
I'm at a 6 with my Yankees right now. I'm at a 6.
All right, that's an honest answer.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned, but not about what people are concerned about. I'm not concerned about the player to be named later in this panic meter. I'm not concerned at all. What I'm actually concerned about is they're leading the league in errors and they don't play defense well. And that concerns me because they have a lot of good defensive players.
Gary Sanchez is a mess behind the plate. That guy is clueless, dude.
And the thing is like, he's not clueless enough where like, you're like, you have to DH him. Like he does things well sometimes enough where you're like, oh, we should put him out there. He throws out runners so well. And then half the time he like gets crossed up and the ball's in the backstop and the guy advances 2 bases. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And the infield is just not, and Duhar is not ready defensively. Cashman was completely right. And so it's just, that's actually my biggest concern. And they're winning games right now on 2 hot bats, and you can't win games forever on 2 hot bats because they will go cold eventually.
I have 2 players. So I'll start with the first one who you said was the player to be named later. So Giancarlo Stanton. Actually, no, sorry, Zach. I skipped. I jumped the gun there. What's your panic meter after the Yankees?
So I think Graz being a 6 is pretty good. I would go 7 just because I think they haven't played anyone this season. Like they've played a lot of Baltimore and Tampa Bay, and when they've played the Red Sox in Toronto, they haven't played well. So once their schedule gets a little tougher, I don't know. It's really up in the air with them. I think their starting pitching is pretty bad right now too.
So like I said, I have 2 players now. The first one is Giancarlo Stanton, Graz. I know you said you're not panicking, but it's got to be a little bit in your mind at this point.
Yeah, the perfect number is the 3. It's a little bit in your mind, but when you look at his stats from his past 3 years where he's been good, especially the MVP year, he also started slow. And there's always an adjustment period with these Yankee players, new Yankee players that come in big acquisitions. Tino didn't hit well. Jason Giambi didn't hit well in the beginning. Mark Teixeira didn't. It's a pattern. You have to get used to the, big city. Imagine playing in front of 6 people and then being like, oh, welcome to New York, where people actually give a shit if you strike out 5 times.
It is a valid point. I will say it's a valid point, but with the fact that he did homer yesterday. Yesterday was Friday as of this recording. He did homer yesterday, but it's still sort of that strikeout rate is alarming, and it's extending over a longer period of time. I think that's the alarming point. And he was going to strike out anyways. It's just happening even more than it already was.
But that's the thing is I've said many times on this podcast that I don't give a fuck about strikeouts.
Yeah. I've been adamant about that. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's Graz's quote. I don't give a fuck about strikeouts.
I don't. Yeah. My entire life, they might lead the league in home runs and strikeouts, and I'd be thrilled. That's fun. That's a fun season.
See, I'm not worried about Stan either. I think he'll come good. I think the cold weather has really screwed with a lot of players this season, which it really has in the past because we're having an outstandingly cold like April, May, time frame here. But the bigger concerning thing for me is I heard he was rooming with AJ Ramos, who pitches for the Mets. That to me is like a red flag. Like you just get this big contract, you get moved to New York, and you roommate with a pitcher on the Mets that you were teammates with on the Marlins. Like that to me is just, I don't know, something questionable about that. Yeah, it is kind of weird. I don't know.
Okay, so that's Stan. What was your number for that?
I had like a 3. I would go.
Oh, all right. So you're not really that concerned. Okay.
No.
My second player, I just really want to hear Graz vent. I think that's the only reason I'm putting him on this. Dom Betances.
Oh my God. It's like you're just trying to get me upset in the morning.
Yeah, that's
How
all
do
I
you
was trying to
throw?
do there.
There's days where he throws 100 on the black and throws a breaking ball that literally breaks people's knees. And then there's days where he walks people in, like walks 4 straight people. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? It's a
Yeah.
mechanics issue. I'm at like a 6. I'm at like a 6.
Really? That's it?
Yeah, because I believe in Rothschild. I think he'll figure it out. I really believe in the pitching. They've developed quality relief pitchers. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I think they'll work it out. It's the beginning of the year, and there's room in that bullpen where he could kind of suck for a little bit and then come back and be strong. Like he doesn't have to pitch every day.
Okay. Zach, I don't know if you have anything on Betances. I only threw him in there to piss Graz off a little bit.
It worked. It worked very well.
No, like I think like Graz said, he has all the talent in the world. Like some days he's unhittable, and then some days he can't find the plate. The walks are concerning. It's really tough for a tall guy to have his motion be repeatable. Randy Johnson did it because he had such an easy motion, but Betances has a lot of stuff going on, and I think when you have that big of a frame, you got to keep it simple because he throws easy gas. So just keep it simple, Dylan.
Yeah. Lastly, we have the Cleveland Indians. They're 9-8 right now.
On the Indians, I would go a 6. I feel the same way about them as I do with the Cubs. I just think they have better starting pitching. Their hitting has been very underwhelming to start the season. Jose Ramirez, who was hot last year, struggled. Kipnis is off to a slow start. I wouldn't panic because they're too much just because their division sucks. Like I think they'll walk away with that division. Their only competition really is the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah.
But going far in the playoffs, I would be worried about that based on their hitting thus far in the season.
Okay. So we will move on from the panic meter to talk about a team that I don't think anybody should be panicking right now. It is the Boston Red Sox, who are now 17-2, a historic start. I think it's their best start in franchise history. Which is, I mean, it makes sense. 2 losses to start the season. It's April 21st as of this recording, and they've lost 2 games. So that's something else. And they just got over a series with the Angels. Of course, that means they faced Shohei Ohtani, who pitched against them. That was an underwhelming game. Shohei was taken out after 2 innings. He said he had a blister, and then he didn't do anything really at the plate for the entire series either. So, Red Sox, Zach, they're rolling. They have 5 grand slams now. They faced the A's last night, Friday night, and Mitch Moreland went yard for a grand slam. So they have 5 grand slams as of Saturday. I tweeted this out. They have more grand slams this year than the White Sox, Royals, and what was the other team? There's one other team. I think
it's the Reds.
Reds. They have more grand slams than those teams have wins. So that's how the season's going so far for the Red Sox. So we don't have to go too far into it because it's obvious that they're just doing great things right now. And I don't know what else there is to say about that. But Zach, what do you got on the Red Sox? This is amazing.
Yeah, they've been really hot, and the Grand Slam thing has been crazy. One thing for me is I'm a big, who have you played guy? And coming into this West Coast trip, I was like, all right, this is the first test of the Red Sox. They go out to the West Coast, time change. They go and play the Angels, who are hot. They go and play the A's. They're on the West Coast. So they go in and, they destroyed the Angels. None of those games were even close. And everyone was touting the Angels like, oh, look at the start they've come off to. Look at Ohtani. This team could possibly win the AL. And the Red Sox just go in there and destroy them and bring them all back to earth.
And not just destroy either. They manhandled them to the point where I think the Angels, that could do you remember when the Patriots, the Texans came into town, rolling, they were red hot and the Patriots murdered them? That is similar to what this could have been with the Angels. The Angels might have come back. They might have killed Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani might be dead.
Yeah. The Angels got killed last night too from the Giants when Jeff Samardzija was pitching. So that's the epitome of death when Jeff Samardzija is shutting you out. So the Red Sox are hot right now. I'm one of these guys. It's all well and good in the regular season, but I hope this carries over to the playoffs because that's when I want them to be playing well. But obviously getting off to this big lead in the AL is great. That's always great just to have a little pad there.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid getting too excited, even though that's a very hard thing to do at this point because it is only April. You got to believe that they're going to hit a dry spell at some point, right? You can't expect this pace to last too much longer. Otherwise, that would be something that we've never seen before in baseball. And it seems like everyone's firing on all cylinders offensively. Porcello is having like another Cy Young campaign so far. Price is doing pretty well, besides that one start against the Yankees, where that was just weird with his hand being numb or whatever. Chris Sale's doing what Chris Sale does, and the back end of the rotation hasn't been god awful either. Like they're holding their own at the back end of the rotation. So everything seems to be going a little bit too well for the Red Sox. I would expect a dry spell sooner rather than later. That's just the way baseball works. Until then, though, obviously be excited about this team. Now, going off of the panic meter, I guess, are you at all worried about Shohei Ohtani? Do you think maybe we got a little bit too hyped up about him? Because now that we've seen him up close and personal against the Red Sox, he obviously wasn't very impressive.
No, I think the blister was a big thing. Like, I'm a big believer because, like, I've pitched with a blister, and it's such a bitch because it's just in your head the whole time you're pitching. And I mean, last night he went 2 for 4. So even that's the great thing with Ohtani. Like, even if his pitching sort of struggles, he helps you in other ways when other pitchers don't. So I still think he's a great player, and I think that moment was like his first big moment, and he kind of got shell shocked by the big lights. But I think he'll come back if that blister is fixed. Obviously,
that's a key point there, because before Shohei Ohtani was signed, in that process, he purposely avoided going to the quote unquote bright lights cities. He just wanted no part of that. And as soon as he faced a big team like the Red Sox, he folded. So I would be interested in how that storyline's going to go moving forward. I have all the faith in the world in Ohtani. I'm not going to be down on the guy because of one bad series, but I do think that's something to keep an eye on as the season goes on, because then there's that whole other aspect where he wants it to be quiet whenever he's pitching or hitting. He just wants silence. He doesn't want the crowd going nuts, and that just worries me, because what happens when the Angels are in the wild card game? You think like it's going to be quiet? I don't fucking think so. The wild card games are electric, and I mean, if the Angels, I expect them to make it in there. And if Ohtani's rattled under those lights, would you expect Ohtani to be on the mound or hitting in the wild card game?
Probably on the mound at this point. I don't know, unless they go out and get someone at the deadline. Wouldn't that be great if there's the whole, when he's pitching, everything's quiet? That would just be kind of funny.
Yeah, like if they have home field or whatever, and then everybody knows by that point to just shut up.
Yeah, like everyone's quiet, like they hit a home run. Well, they can cheer when they're on offense, but when they're playing defense, everything's just quiet. That would be
sick.
I can't imagine. I cannot imagine if that game they're playing like the Red Sox or the Yankees at the stadium, and that gets out, they will rip him.
Yeah,
that man apart.
Without a doubt.
With very inappropriate slurs. I know how people celebrate baseball in this country.
The Angels used to, they filled that stadium, and they had the rally monkey, and they had like all that shit going on. It was loud when the Angels played in the playoffs. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Let's just say that. I hope the Angels make it solely so we can see Ohtani in that atmosphere, and just to see if everyone's like, shut the fuck up. Shohei Ohtani's on the
what if he just quiets the crowd down like a quarterback?
Yeah. That'd be awesome. I would love to see that. Okay, we'll move on to the usual segments here. We're at the tail end of the podcast. We'll start with duds of the week, as always. I'm going to start here because mine's just very quick. It's Marcell Ozuna. It's just not working out so far with the Cardinals. It's just not working out.
He's killing my fantasy team. It sucks.
Oh my God, your fantasy team sounds miserable. You have Matt Harvey, you got Marcell Ozuna. Who else do you got?
Luckily, I'm 2-0. Like, my team's good other than those two guys.
All right, fair enough. But he's 0 for 14 in the past 7 games. So, I mean, it's not great. Beginning of the year, I remember I tuned into a Cardinals game, and one of the commentators, he was talking about how Ozuna just doesn't look right health-wise. And that stems from also, I guess, his arm in the outfield hasn't been the same either. Something just doesn't seem right with Marcell Ozuna. And that's unfortunate, because I thought he was going to do big things with the Cardinals this season. Obviously, it's April. I mean, we're at the stage where we get sort of, we talked about this earlier, get lost in the moment, sort of. Marcell Ozuna could be a 30-plus home run guy by the end of this year, easily. So
you just hope he doesn't become like a Hanley Ramirez kind of guy where he gets his money and then he kind of takes his foot off the pedal. He's like, all right, I got my money. Like,
but you would think it would be the opposite, because now he's going to a contender. He's coming from the Marlins to play for a contender. You would just think that it would work sort of the opposite way. Like, now I have the chance to at least make it into the playoffs, so I'm going to turn up the heat a little.
Yeah, some of these guys just like don't care about winning. It sucks to say, but it is true with some of these guys, you know, because Stan, when he was on the Marlins, he was yelling and screaming about how we need to turn this around. Like, we hate losing. Did we ever hear that from Ozuna? Like, he was just, okay. Like,
I've never heard that guy say a word. I don't know if it's just because, like, I don't know if it's because I don't tune into Marlins really, like, their broadcast or Cardinals broadcast that much. I haven't heard Ozuna say one word or seen a quote from him or anything. He just seems like he shows up to the ballpark. He lays low. He shows up to the ballpark. He goes 0 for 14 for a week, and you don't hear from him again. So
that's crazy. He's 0 for 4. Thank you for dropping that stat. I might go and drop him after the show.
But he's the type of guy, though. You'll drop him, and he'll go on an absolute.
Oh my God! Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So my dud is I was high on the Orioles signing this guy, and I have no clue why, but I was, and I'm going to be put in take jail for that. Alex Cobb has been absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I got on you for that too. I'm like, fuck Alex Cobb. Like, he's your ace, Orioles? I don't think so.
Oh my God.
No, not good.
0-2, 15 ERA. He's pitched 7 innings and 2 starts, giving up 12 runs.
Yikes. He got a huge deal too.
Oh God, he got $90 million, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. He goes from the Rays to the Orioles. You think like the Ozuna thing, it's like, okay, I'm actually out of the a shitty ass Florida team. Let me help. Gives me some impetus to win. And he's just been absolute dog shit. He could turn it around because he did have that injury to start the season, but these 2 starts that he's had have been absolutely terrible. So
bad.
Alex Cobb, dud, yeah,
very bad. All right, so now we'll do when you're hot, you're hot. You can start first. Yeah, go ahead.
So I actually just picked this guy up in fantasy. Christian Villanueva from the Padres.
Third baseman. It a lot. That's an underrated pick there.
Third baseman. He's got a little bit of pop. I like what I've seen from him thus far. He's had 3 home runs, 7 RBIs over this week. He's hitting almost 500 this week. It's one of these guys that's keeping Chase Headley out of the lineup, so it keeps all Padres fans happy. And it's good to see a good, a solid young player for the Padres really coming up and performing. So I'm going to go Christian Villanueva. When you're hot, you're hot.
All right. I like that pick. Mine is someone who I've just always liked. I don't know why. He just flies under the radar. I mean, I know he's not a great player. He's just so solid. He's just the definition of just a solid player who just does not get any attention whatsoever. Jed Lowry. Jed Lowry over the last 7 games is 14 for 28. That's 500 batting average. He has 3 home runs. He has a 1441 OPS. Those stats are no joke over the last week or so. Jed Lowry, you will never really hear his name, but he deserves attention on this podcast because he always just goes about his business, and he's just a good player. He's a rock solid player.
Yeah, I was pissed when the Red Sox let go of him. I think he could play a bunch of different positions. He's switch hitter. He just, like you said, he just goes under the radar and he just does his job. I'm a big Jed Lowry guy as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that's done. And when you're hot for the week. Graz, do you have anything for us? Mailbag, one last thing.
I have one mailbag question for you. It's very simple, very in and out. Give me what's the final Red Sox record?
The
year.
Zach?
What's the final Red Sox record? I don't think they get to 100 wins. I'm trying to do the math in my head right now.
I know. That's why I'm putting you guys on the spot.
Yeah, so I'm going to say they get to high 90s. I'm going to say 95, 96 wins this year from the Red Sox.
Interesting. I'll go – they had 93 last season. Obviously, their start wasn't as hot as it is now. You got to expect the dry spells coming, like I said earlier. I'll go – they're going to be better than last year. I'm going to go 98 wins. 98.
Okay. That's it for the mailbag. That was the big thing.
We also got a voicemail. We don't have to throw the voicemail in because it was 4 seconds long. It just asked us whether Yoenis Cespedes has a big wiener or the biggest wiener.
Oh,
and I wanted to know your guys' thoughts. Oh, and by the way, the call was it said it was from New York, so I'm assuming this is one of your buddies, Graz.
This was made on a subway at about 1:30 in the morning.
Okay, explain the story behind this.
This is just going out, and I'm like, yo, because that's my friend Andrew, and he's a big Mets guy. I'm like, call in and leave a voicemail asking about the Mets, and he's like, okay, I'll leave a Mets question. question, and that was his Mets question. So if you guys want to tackle it, you can.
Technically Mets related, so we might have to tackle this.
Baseball related. And
I mean, I think Yoenis Cespedes has a big wiener. I just don't know if I don't know if he can have it all. He has good power. He has a great arm. I don't know if you can have all these assets and also have the biggest wiener. I bet it's big. I don't know. I'm not going the biggest until I've actually seen the proof. So I'll go big wiener.
Yeah, I think he's got a hammer.
Here's your one last thing to get us off this topic. One last thing. People aren't talking about in baseball. If you want to watch one person pitch, in my opinion, you have to go out and watch Jose Barrios of the Minnesota Twins.
I just got so excited, like when you said that, because I've been on the Barrios bandwagon since, probably last year's spring training. This guy is nasty stuff. So I'm glad you mentioned it.
Unbelievable movement, unbelievable velocity. He's totally their ace. And I, as a Yankee fan, if you guys as a Red Sox fan, if the Yankees can somehow climb back into it, do not want to see this guy in the wild card game. Yeah. That guy could put your best hitters out for 8 innings, and then you just screwed it out. So,
I couldn't agree more.
He's unbelievable.
Couldn't agree more.
So watch him as a baseball fan if people are interested.
Have you guys noticed on Twitter? I've seen more GIFs of wiffle ball pitches this year than any other year. I've seen an Adam Ottavino from the Rockies GIF where he's just throws a slider that moves 12 inches. It's crazy.
Yeah,
in Syndergaard with his two seam, it's crazy.
Both of those guys had those where we might actually have a future segment of just GIFs or videos that we've seen of just nasty pitches like that, because that's nasty. I think there's been almost a surplus of them this season so far. It's like the balls were juiced last season. Now they've juiced them for the pitchers or something. It's a conspiracy watch. Yeah, they've put little holes in them so they can make a move like a wiffle ball. Maybe conspiracy. Keep an eye on that. All right. So I think that's the show.
One last thing we have to go over. Just last thing. Here it is. If you're paying attention at home, the Orioles are in last place of the AL East. So I'm looking at my dollar. I'll give you an update every single week on how the bottom of the AL East is looking. I love that. Last week I got on you a little bit, Graz, because the Rays were doing so bad. And I know. Kiermaier got hurt, and it looked like that dollar was going to be mine. No questions asked. But the Orioles, turns out, are making. They want you to get that dollar. Apparently. I know it's big. Yeah, that's. That's going to be an ongoing storyline throughout the season for sure. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Tater Talk Pod. That's where you'll find a lot of the GIFs and videos of nasty pitches that we were just talking about. And you can also do the same on Facebook and Instagram. Leave voicemail if you want to be in the mailbag, 978-294-9333. Head on over to MyBookie with promo code Tater for 50% off, 50% bonus when you deposit. That would help us out. That'll help you out. Do all that shit, and we will see you guys later. Peace.